Welcome to We Are Old, Get Over It, the podcast for active senior living and getting the most out of life. I'm your host, Ken Gluckman. During our summer break, we share highlights of some of our favorite conversations from the past year. These are just short clips from the full-length episodes. You can find the link to the original episodes in the show notes here, or just search the episode title on our YouTube channel or in your preferred podcast app. Help us share this useful and informative information by inviting your family and friends to visit our podcasts. Share a clip or an episode with them, and it will give you something to talk about. And now, let's laugh and learn for the week. What are some of the most surprising, powerful scientific findings you uncovered about how dogs benefit our lives? Most surprising or powerful scientific findings you uncovered about how dogs benefit our lives?
I love this question. That was actually a real mission behind this book. We didn't just want to make it a warm and cozy read. We really wanted this to be science-backed. So we did a ton of research. And interestingly enough, dogs are incredibly, just on a very basic scientific level, they're very good for our health, mentally and physically, on a biological basis. So for example, when you're petting your dog or gazing into your dog's eyes and you're really feeling connected, you both get a surge of oxytocin. There it goes. You both get a surge of oxytocin, which is known as the bonding hormone. And it's a really feel-good hormone. It makes you feel good in the moment. It also bonds you to each other. And that's pretty amazing stuff. Our dogs also affect our gut microbiome, the bacteria in our gut, because we're sharing a living space. And so we're sharing bacteria. And so we influence each other's health that way. Dogs have been found to, they have an amazing sense of smell. I mean, we all know that, but it's just like exponentially better than a human's sense of smell. And their sense of smell can detect diseases in human beings before we know they're there, whether it's like cancer or epilepsy or you name it, low blood sugar in people who have diabetes. So they're very good that way. And then in terms of sharing a life together, they help us stay active. They bring us out into the community and help us form bonds and meet people in the community. And they also kind of give us structure to our days, whether it's around, meal times and feeding them or taking them on walks, playtime, you name it. And so they sort of become this organizing principle for our lives.
I agree. I just experienced some of these things that you just spoke about. For example, the pets that I have know when it's time to eat each meal, know when it's time to go to sleep, know when they plan to go for our walk. The dog goes for a walk with me virtually every day. And I was on a walk earlier this week, and I passed a lady, and I make my dog sit down when somebody's passing because you never know how the person's going to react. And she said, "Your dog is so well trained." I said, "He didn't need a lot of training." And she said, "Also, may I pet him?" And I said, "Of course." So I let her. She pet the dog, and she said, she said, "When your dog looks at you, I can tell from his eyes that he loves you." I said, "That's really a nice thing." And that's kind of relates to what you were talking about. And we have a common story that we can start out with because it kind of flows into the book that you wrote. Tell me a little bit about your dog and how you ended up getting the most recent pet that you have and love.
So during the pandemic, it was August of 2020, our beloved dog, Inky, died quite suddenly. He was like 2 weeks shy of 14. Our dogs tend to live pretty long lives. And one night he collapsed in the living room when he was trying to stand up and was very weak and very disoriented. And so I took him to the hospital. It's like 12:30 on a Saturday night. And I'm not going to get into like the nitty gritty here because it's all very sad, but he was found to have internal bleeding from a cancerous tumor that ruptured. So we brought him home. They made him comfortable. We brought him home the next morning and put him to sleep in our home with his whole family surrounded by him, with him surrounded by his whole family. I said that backwards.
That's okay.
And I was just an absolute wreck. I was crying all the time. And we all were. We loved this dog as much as is humanly possible. And I decided that out of respect for Inky and also just to help us all heal, we should wait 6 months to get another dog. And I couldn't stop crying, literally for a month. And 1 month in, I don't even think it was a month in, I think it was 3 weeks in, my younger son, who was in high school at the time, said, "Mom, I think you should consider getting another dog sooner because I'm worried about your mental health." Like, okay, fair point. So I started to distract myself. I started, people do window shopping, and during the pandemic, everybody was shopping online. Well, I started shopping for dogs online. All these different rescue organizations and checking them out. And I must have applied to like 4 or 5 different rescue organizations, but there was a backlog because everybody wanted a dog during the pandemic. And so my friend Lisa Van Susteren, who I wrote another book with called Emotional Inflammation, said, "Oh, contact my friend who runs this outfit, Pet Connect Rescue. She'll move you to the top of the line." I shouldn't say that. Anyway, too late. So I went on this
Do you want us
website.
to edit that out? I just need to know. Do you want me to edit that out or no? I
Yeah,
can leave
you
it in.
probably should. I don't want to present favoritism. Yeah, so let's just edit. We could say Pet Connect Rescue. And then I found Sadie, and I thought she was absolutely gorgeous. And I didn't have an idea about whether to get a puppy or an older dog. She was 5. She was absolutely beautiful. And I said, "We need to meet this dog." So, in some ways it's easier to get a mortgage these days than to get approved to adopt a puppy. So I had to go through numerous phone interviews. I had to take a foster mother on a FaceTime tour of our house and backyard. I had to do all these different things, get a reference from the vet to be approved to adopt this dog. So it was actually Labor Day weekend of that year. Everybody piled in the car and we drove to this horse farm in Middleburg, Virginia to meet Sadie. And she was smaller than I thought she was going to be. And as we were pulling up on this gravel driveway, all these dogs were trotting down the driveway. And I looked at her and said, "Oh my gosh, is that Sadie? We came to meet you." And we brought treats for all the dogs. The amazing thing is we were all playing with them. My older son's girlfriend was with us, so it was 5 of us. We were playing with all these different dogs, including a couple of puppies that had just arrived from Puerto Rico. I was really taken with Sadie, but everybody else was like, "Why don't we get 2 dogs? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that?" So I said, "No, I'm the primary dog parent. 1 is enough." And so while the foster mom was getting the paperwork to finalize our adoption of Sadie, I inadvertently left the back door of the car open, and Sadie hopped in, lay down on the seat, and looked at me like, "Can we go now?"
Right.
So we chose each other.
Right.
And
so amazing.
It has just been part of it, in all honesty, is Sadie loves car rides. She is happy to just go in a car. She would go to the drugstore and be happy in the car. But it has just been like the best fit for our family. She is bonded with everybody in the family. She is a total lovey, and she has just been an absolute joy. So we discovered that she was 5 years old. And so now we're coming up on 10 years. She's still got a lot of puppy energy, and she's just so much fun.
Well, that's great.
And she's so affectionate.
Let's talk about the stories that you have in your book. We discussed the research that was done, the scientific aspects of it. Can you share 1 or 2 of your favorite anecdotes? I should say that correctly. fix my tooth. Okay. From the book?
Sure. So this is actually a really fun story. When we were looking for stories to include in the book, Jen put out a shout out to her whole social media following, the Golden Ratio, and people wrote in about different aspects of their relationships with their dogs, or how they met people, or how their dog's been good for their health, and so on. And there was one story about from a guy in Chicago who met the love of his life walking his dog. And it was during the pandemic. So they were at a park, and his dog desperately wanted to meet her dog and was pulling towards the other dog, but he was trying to keep his distance because it was during the pandemic and social distancing was in play.
Right.
So finally, they're getting closer and closer. And he said, my dog really wants to say hello to yours. Do you mind if we come closer? And she said, no, it's fine. So they did. And then they ended up talking for like half an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and decided to meet up again. And he wrote that she turned out to be the love of his life, and they were engaged. So that was included in the book. And I kept wondering, I wonder if they actually got married. Did this have a happy ending? We don't know. And so when Jen and I were doing a book event in Chicago, unbeknownst to me, this couple came to our book reading and our book talk. And they were sitting in the front row, and she was very pregnant. And they came up afterwards and introduced themselves. And it just made me so happy. And now we follow each other on Instagram. And they were brought together by their dog.
That's nice. You have another story, or just stick with one?
I have so many. I mean, cue me up in terms of like a type of story. I mean, there are other examples. For instance, somebody that Jen knew in Florida, in the Keys, was a very like strong, burly guy. I think he was a contractor, and he was having some health issues that he didn't really understand, and he didn't get them checked out. And sometimes in the middle of the night, he would wake up and his dog was on his chest, and he didn't know what was going on. And then he started feeling like worse and worse. And finally, he decided, okay, I'm going to go get checked out. And he went to a cardiologist, and they stopped him halfway through a stress test and flew him by helicopter for emergency surgery. He was having heart failure. And it was almost like his dog was giving him doggy CPR, because the dog detected changes in his breathing pattern and was trying to resuscitate him during the night.
Isn't that amazing? That's so amazing.
Incredible.
Those stories. Yeah.
Yeah.